Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another stop into the canyon. Welcome back to the canyon. It's another Quickview. Nope, it's Quickview Redux because the list remains long. We've got our red Sharpie. We've got our list. We Quickview Redux a little bit out of order. I missed it. We're not just going straight. I don't even know what order they're in. They might be in order chronologically. I don't know. The list was prepared for me because I lack the focus to prepare it myself. So in this Redux, which you've already seen the thumbnail for, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. The old is the tire in question of the day, Interco, RC4WD drive Interco IROKs. They are already pre-fitted, they are pre-mounted, they are tanks. They are absolute tanks because that's the old. The borrowed is they came off of the Atlas, aka the Scrawler. It's a scale crawler. Look how, isn't he a good boy? And when he sits up on the shelf and he gets all dusty, he just looks better. Oh, what a good boy. What a good boy the Atlas is. So these wheels were specifically set up for that gentleman. That gentleman is not particularly light. I want to say that what I was just holding in front of you, between 5.5 and 6 pounds, minus his wheels and tires. So we had tested him on the IROKs, and the testing pretty much came to a halt because they're so good. If memory serves, the IROKs are X2SS, not X2S3. If they are X2S3, they are the softest X2S3 tires ever. They are fitted with Canyon mediums, and they are mounted to one of my all-time favorite wheels. These are Hot Storms. Why are they great? No beadlock ring on the front, so no screws to put in. It is 6-bolt back, fixed hub, so you alter your width by changing your hexes, and you're done. You bolt 6. If you need to change a tire, you take 6 bolts out, you put 6 bolts in. They're easy. They take no time at all to build. This combo weighs 295 grams. So he is well past a kilo of wheelos because we were trying to offset the weight of that body. So we have something old, which is also borrowed. We have something blue. That's the only blue thing we can find right over there. And something new is, oh my goodness. We're gonna have to get him on the scale. The beauty of, you're absolutely right. The beauty of this Bronco body, the relatively inexpensive Bronco hard body, is that the fender wells are indeed big enough to fit these, and we said that he is testing up to a specific size, and this is a little bigger. They're not quite 465. What does the sidewall claim? The sidewall claims 46.5, which is, I think, 10th scale for 4.65, by 17.5 by 19. They are right about that. They are 4 9/16 in the U.S. measurements, about 116 everywhere else. And then width-wise, on this insert, in this setup, like 49. There's some chunky boys. So that is definitely past the 1.75 width that they are purporting. And that insert, we're not going to show the mounting because they're pre-mounted and they belong to someone else. They are indeed borrowed. But it's just this. This is exactly what's inside of them. Just like that. And it's a medium, so Canyon mediums all the way around. Because when things of hulky girths attempt vertical climbs like this, the rear tires just want to collapse under it, and then you get a doodle bug. I do not think that we are under immediate risk of doodle bug here because while built semi-specifically as a Class 1, Lord Pentabee first of his name, this is much heavier. His day-to-day is this, which weigh about 70 grams, right around 70 grams less per corner, but have more compliance to them. So, this is the beauty of a Redux. We're a lot faster and looser with the rules, because we've already, all the tires that come up in the Redux are tires that have been in service for some amount of time here in the Canyon. And as I was going down the list this morning, I was thinking to myself, man, with a couple exceptions, I had to cross some tires off the list because they are no longer in our possession. They were either loaned in, traded out, swapped out. We're here for a build and departed with that build, or what have you. So I've crossed a bunch of them off the list because it would be effectively impossible for me to Redux it, as I don't have the tire anymore. But of the ones that are on the list that have not been tested under the current protocol, virtually all of them are in service, are on vehicles. So we got to get to that. There it is. This is the body mounting solution we arrived on. 2 pins to align it, 2 screws to hold it down, because I just couldn't be bothered to do it any other way. Like, oh, good grief. Yeah, so as said, probably added, I don't know. What was that, 300 grams? Just between this wheel set. Oh, lordy. So he is usually, is he 8.5? I think he was just under 8 before he went to his new wheel set, which are hot storms, but not as heavy as these hot storms. Oh, might as well throw, there is better. Might as well throw a little something else on him. 3,929 grams to the rest of the world. 8.66 pounds. That's proper Class 1 stuff. Hello. These are not Class 1 tires. These are almost 4.65s, but not quite 4. What is this, 16th of an inch? 0.62. 4.5625. So basically 4.55s. And with the fenders on these, we have, oh, look at that. We have no problem. We should have that offset. Oh, that offset is perfect. My goodness. Close enough to 9 pounds. And we have an insert, Canyon Medium, that I think is pretty well suited to this sort of hulk-a-bulk. And it is all weight added where we would want it, which is unsprung. Down low. Will they be compliant enough for this setup? Because we're coming off of an FMS, we're coming off of an Atlas and going under here. I don't know. That's why it's a Redux. We try to evaluate, because if they're in service, they must be pretty okay. So let's hope we find out some pretty okay. They look good on there. This body, this setup, you can get away with it. You can run a Class 1. You can run a 4.55. You can run a 4.65. I think you could get up to a 4.75 before it started to look like, oh, we're starting to get kind of big. And, you know, the weathered, fake rusted wheels, I don't know, they look kind of good on there too. Guy's got a bad paint job, couldn't afford wheels. Let us get out there. Oh, the board. I'm going to find the board. Okay. Reduxing. I'll put a pen in my pocket. We're going to head out into the delightful, early, misty morning overcast. We're going to Redux RC4WD drive, Interco, IROKs. And we're going to have a blasty, right? It's all about having a blast. I got to say, at least so far, the IROKs are doing okay and all right. Tracking straight. They look good under the body. We have all the things that are non-factors. We're riding the high of the non-factors. The big question mark is, are we going to get enough compliance out of those big mediums? Yeah. X2 SS will let you get away with a lot. And I think that this tire specifically, and well, not just this tire specifically, but this sort of subgenre, this tire is aimed at kind of a specific build. I don't know if even on a lighter foam, if I would be putting a tire like this on a 5-pound rig. Something about, we saw it with the Hunks, we've seen it with TSL SX, they want a bit more weight on them. Swampers respond to more weight, and I had seen this in previous comments where people were like, "Oh, you need to try that tire with more weight on it." And yeah, that is absolutely the case with many tires. Yeah, like what I'm looking at here is I can see the rear bumper just stuck. There we go. I'm looking, it's like learning to drive again, man. I was just getting used to 419s, and then they're like, oh, it's taller now. But with all that weight down low, he's driving, he doesn't feel as kind of sprightly as usual. Feels like a bit more solid. That is a big mosquito. That is a big mosquito. It is mosquito season has definitely begun in earnest, and even on a calm, cool, cold morning, they're out already. Yeah, that was, oh yeah, yeah. We harp. We'll come back on it again about how you've got compound, construction, and cooperation. How well is the tire working with the insert, and how well is the lug shape working with the compound? So is this the only Swamper style tire that I've tested in X2SS? X2SS is a fantastic compound to the point of being almost tacky. In most cases, it's more difficult to mount than J-Concept's green. The Baja Claw is an X2SS, and it's one of my favorites. Look at the stability. The downhill stability is not to be underestimated. Oh, look at that front end tried to lift and then was like, no, you don't have the sauce to make me lift. Yeah, the Lord, meant to be first of his name. He's making the IROKs look real good, because I am aware, as this is a Redux, that this is another all-rounder tire. And that corner lug, we've tested we're getting into a fair many Swamper-ish, Swamper-esque, Swamper-style tires. And this particular one, I don't count the Bogger as a Swamper, even though I think it technically is. Oh, I was anticipating some real snappy looseness on that inside coming around that corner, but like, look at his descending. Like glue. Like glue. We get a little bit of front collapse on the front suspension, because I think even the way he sprung to the body, now we're getting that pendulum effect, where one side of the axle is pushing the tire on the other, and the tires are basically bullying the body around. That's where we want to be. Where you don't want to be is the body bullying the tires around. So, evaluating this, Redux evaluations are always more difficult. This one is going to be particularly difficult. Oh, we didn't do this one. I don't know if there's enough compliance and/or forward drive, but we can shuttle. Can we cut right? Like, the fact that he's not falling right there is everything. We've got a nice positionability. I'm just trying to get a lug to catch. Could not have, like, it's not the exact line that I wanted, but when it gets out of shape, if you can maintain it and not fall away, that is definitely something. That is positive points in a column that doesn't actually exist. Yeah, and as anticipated, absolutely no body noise coming off of these. The day prior to this day, I had all the fans on because it got hot. It got hot. It is a soft mist, full overcast, cool but not cold. They like at a low speed. I can see bumper corner. How do they respond to that mid-throttle input. Oh, and yes, I have done a little bit of, I don't think he's going to be able to cut this line physically. When I get to the spot right where I want to be cutting this tire back, pass driver, rear corner, either body or bumper, just on that point of rock. That. And every time I try to oh, get it. That's working around the limitations that you've placed upon yourself. Like, that's a big body. It's got, well, the overhangs aren't actually too bad, but it is a pretty big body. The IROKs are refreshing on this brisk morning because they do the things. And yes, I did some mental math during transition. Almost exactly 50 grams per corner heavier than his typical. And 200 grams is not a small amount, particularly down that low. And thank the gods of technology for providing us with the Fusion SE, because I don't feel any hesitation, lack of torque, lack of drag brake. Boop, boop, brip. We have no platform issues that aren't inherent to the, like, oh. You get, ordinarily, I would say, 300 grams a corner, probably a little bit heavy. But this is hard body stuff, yo. So take into account that this test, this redux of the IROK is, that's why Pentabee came out, because spiritually he's pretty close to Randall the Atlas. Heavy. And I think this is a tire, like we learned, his day-to-days now are pivots, class 1 pivots, which we have learned through experience are tires for heavy. And I think these are also tires for heavy. Let's, you know what, let's go straight cut. I don't know if bumper will pull. Yeah, like, look, you can see the amount of drive. Let's just stay in it, rock it back. Bumper's in. Oh, I thought for sure. Who didn't think we were going over right there? They won't allow it. And here's the upsides, downsides. Upside, inserts, cheap. That's hair buttons and Tim Tins. Tires, you know, they are what RC4WD drive tires cost. Rims used to be cheap, used to be amazing because they're tank heavy. They're just basically hole drilled slabs of aluminum. They are basically impossible to find. If someone can source this wheel on like AliExpress, let me know. I have, I think, 3 sets. I would gladly take a couple more. A white set of these, I would probably just pop them on here. I would pop his pivots on them right here. I think I've started to like this look more than the 8-hole. Oh, we are, hey, in a Redux is built out of tangents, and we are getting tangential. I managed to roll it. So this is the first time I've driven something of this sort of weight where, I'm waiting for the neighbor to go by, where I'm not feeling the weight of the body, I just feel the size. Right there, passenger rear is like near zero contact, but we're not gonna get, I don't think we're gonna get that collapse. What is the weight transfer gonna look like when we get over here? Oh. 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 Once he got into that position, remember what I said about the tires bullying the body around? You can overcome a lot of shortcomings by throwing some weight at it. Oh, oh, it is the opposite of what I would expect. It is Turtle City. And, oh, the swamper thing. The swamper thing is happening. So the shoulder lug shape, the thing we can't take away from the swamper. The problem we have had with everything swamper, I don't count the bogger as a swamper, is that shape of the lug right at the shoulder, even with an insert that most would consider to be absurdly firm, but will allow us to do things like stand that passenger rear up in the air. What happens is, I don't even know if the camera would have to be zoomed in so much to see it. Right there. Weight is transferred over, and now the shoulder has rolled. So the tire isn't rolling on the insert. The weight has transferred. Basically, we're now on side lug. But between side lug and main lug, there's just a little nothing. Just a little space of nothing. And what happens to us is, on some situations, every once in a while, we can bridge that gap like it's not there. We never know. But we're stepping over tripwires in the dark. We don't even know it's happening. But sometimes we get caught in that transition. And I can't forecast what's gonna, oh, stay down, stay down, stay down. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat mode. It is more forgiving than I thought it would be, that setup with the IROK. But there is definitely a point. There's a little bit of a Porsche point here where everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. But you never even get to worry about it because you're there and then you're gone. And I don't think that has anything to do with X2SS. I don't think that has anything to do with the IROK specific. It has to do with the genetic, with the DNA of the swamper. When you load that little fine, invisible gap in the shoulder, it goes. Now, if you're not doing aggressively side hilling, you're never going to know the tripwire's there. So this is a tire that I think, well, hold on, before I have to eat my own words. No, there you go. Is not explicitly maxed out forward drive, and especially in this setup. That amount of weight is going to compromise forward drive, but it's going to increase stability a lot. The question you must ask thyself is, how much do I need the stability, and how much forward drive am I willing to exchange for that stability? Because there's always a bump. You can always bump. I am learning we are in the nascent days of, even, and despite the fact that these are not 419s, of what we call get it around. Oh, they got a little wet on the way over here. Oh, these are a little tougher to self-right. I think it's the offset. We are learning the ways of the portly body, of the heavy body. And the IROK is good at it, despite not being a class 1 tire. But I do realize hard bodies are not unique to class 1. We just kind of, and by we, I mean me, and I mean us to a degree, gravitate towards a 419, towards a smaller tire on a class 1 because it's a free CG lowering. We're not adding weight, we're just lowering the vehicle. And if you lower the vehicle, you're exchanging CGH for ground clearance. And if you learn to drive with the diminished ground clearance, then the drawbacks minimize themselves. It is a lot easier to do stuff like this on a 455 than it is on a 419, but wow, it's stable. It's stable. You might be asking yourself the same thing that I'm asking myself right now, which is, take that tire off, put a different tire on. Is it the same experience with the Canyon medium and the heavy wheel? Similar but different? Because if we put another swamper, say we put a TSL SX on there, I think the experience is going to be very similar. But I think we're going to have a bit less forward drive, and we would have to aim more tuning at it with the insert. I think this tire is a bit more forgiving because it has compound to throw at it. X2SS grip grab. If this is an X2S3 and my mind has blocked out what the compound of this tire is, this is the only X2S3 tire that I recommend because it's infinitely better than the others, but it has that gloss. I should have done my research, right? I should have looked up whether or not they're X2SS. These are doing honest. Oh, I wish that was on camera. A squirrel just ran out of the rocks right behind the rig. These are doing great. They really are. You should do reasonably well here because the invisible tripwire only comes out to trip you when the side hilling gets aggressive. The side hill itself on the swamper line is good. This will be a body clearance question. We're bellied out. Again, sliders. What we're looking at, I feel I need to clarify in the moment. We're not looking at outright, well, look at this thing, murder a line. We're looking at not what do the successes look like, what do the failures look like. When we go to make a cut and it doesn't make the cut, what is making it not happen? Is the tire what's responsible, or is it the actions of the Lord? That mist is really picking up. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. There it is. This is a driver's tire. Much like the Pivot, much like the Mallet, this is a non-Class 1 tire that behaves very much like a Class 1 tire. If you're rocking a big Bronchi, you can get away with these. You can get away with these 455s. They don't look grotesquely oversized. It just looks like somebody had a bit more budget and they were like, oh, what's the biggest tire you can fit under my Bronco? Like right through there, Class 1 just augers in. But these are like, oh, let's do it. Whoa! And the catch. Catch of the day. I'm calling it now. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere where we do a better catch than that. The breech on is obviously 455 and not 419. I'm gonna come up. And surprisingly responsive. The wheels are, as I said, bullying the body around, but they don't feel nearly as heavy as they are on the scale. I'm trying to find the spot where these are gonna go. The cut is usually far enough right that we knock a ball. Get that side leg up, get that side leg up. There's a little lip at the rear where I don't know if that line is gonna pull it. You can see that passenger rear just augered in. All right, let's just hit the gate backwards. We'll hit the gate backwards. I'm really just looking to see the maneuverability here. It's not about doing something letter specific. It's a Redux after all. Look at that. Now, will that driver rear come up over that, or are we gonna get proper upset? That's asking a lot of the flex. Oh man, 1,200 grams, baby. 300 grams a corner. Oh, it does. Most of my problems are so. Oh, that's not on camera. Most of my problems are self-made, yes, but what just happened off camera? This thing went within a millimeter of rolling like 3 times, and the wheels snapped it back down. I had hopes, not high, that we don't go into a Redux on high. These are doing really well, with a bunch of asterisks, all of the Redux asterisks. Are we too rig specific? Are we too combo specific? I don't know. I mean, I don't think this is the end all nor the be all of inserts. Like right there, we could stand to trade in some of the stability for a little bit more compliance in the back. If you're putting any sort of, let's call it a sculpted insert, I think we're in a spot where you got to go out this way, dude. You got stuck. Anything 3D, anything of what I would call variable density, on a Canyon medium dual stage, there's not a ton more compliance in the outer hair bun layer than there are in the inner closed cell foam layer, because this is a 455, and we will often run the same insert in a 475. So the inability to pull, that's just a dead wall. The rear tires are up just against a dead wall. And our inability to shuttle it to the left is 100% the insert here. We have made exchanges. We have exchanged forward drive for stability. And in that event, we've exchanged maybe too much. We would want to achieve a bit more balance. If I can get that corner to pull over, and then there's the opposite of it. I call that the soft side, hard side, soft side. The soft side is usually more difficult, but not for this. What we're looking at is when we fail, why do we fail? And I think I understand. Well, that was good. A little bumpy. Yeah. Another instance where we have so much weight, I don't think. Yeah. Okay, full throttle. It's undonkeyable. There's not enough weight up top to to pull to pop the thing in the air. We can't get the kick. It's just flat. It's just flat. So how do these tires bump? Well, there's enough chevron to the tread that we're going to bump reasonably straight. So that's good. This isn't a value. This is not so much a review as it is an evaluation. We have so many different things that we're trying to look at all at the same time, and it's more difficult than just blind testing something fresh out of the bag, which will quite likely be evidenced here as we've got to try to self-right, and there's a certain point where the flywheel effect comes back around to bite you. 1200 kV, trying to spin these things up on not 100% reverse. I think we honestly needed 100% reverse. Oh, you see? We used a rock for advantage. Just not enough wheel speed. But as this is a Redux, we have to evaluate that. It's not about the successes, it's about analyzing the failures. So the inability to just quick whip back onto our wheels is not the tire, is not the wheel, is not the offset, is not the body. It's the fact that we can't throw enough juice into 300 grams per corner quickly enough to get this thing over. I think I could have caught that. I think the shape, the structure of the tire itself, I think does lend to a pretty fairly reasonably good ability to self-right. The offset of the wheel is just enough that the lug is right out there with the fender flare. So the tire itself, analyzing the tire through the variables, yeah, it has it and it can. But I think the higher grip the surface you're trying to do it on, like if you do it on grass, boom, back on the wheels. If you're on rock, boom, back on the wheels. You're gonna mar yourself up a little bit, but it can get back on the wheels pretty effectively and pretty consistently. So these are scores that I have to evaluate. I definitely have to evaluate these. And any Redux comes as necessary with an asterisk because they are not tested with those variables eliminated. So we're trying to see through the cloud of our own decisions into what the tire can do on its own. So ordinarily when we fly in to wherever we're going, I cruise control in. We'll do it right here. I cruise control into the location, and then when I hit the cruise control button, it just cuts power to 0, drag brake takes over. And usually what happens is, depending on the rig, it'll do a little bit of a stoppie. It actually rolls about a body length, 1,200 grams, baby. The 40 amps of the SE, maybe not enough to manipulate this kind of weight around. Get it? Get it? Get that? Yeah. Maneuverability, genuinely surprisingly good for how heavy the combos are. And I would agree, the stability is almost excessive, but I think it is something that I would try to learn to drive towards. Would I opt for something with a bit more forward drive, a little bit more compliance? I don't know. I don't think I would with the IROK, because the invisible tripwire is always there. And I think the changes you make raise and lower how far the invisible tripwire is from the ground. And in this configuration, it's pretty easy to step over it. I would honestly, my expectation was that the fronts were going to be too firm. But in reality, the fronts feel just about right. And when we're trying to do extreme stuff, and by that I mean extreme angles of attack, the rears start to feel too firm. But too firm in the rear also stops excessive weight transfer. So it's going to keep the nose down longer. And the ability to absorb that weight transfer means that when it does transfer, you don't just doodlebug. You don't just do the straight turtle roll. So we've made we made compromises from the beginning. If your body is made out of ABS and it has an interior and any other gadgets and gubbins, you've already made compromises. You've made sacrifices for vanity. And what are you willing to sacrifice for your vanity is the question. And yeah, optimal setup? No, 300 grams a corner is too heavy. But 300 grams per corner is too heavy in general. On this setup, I don't think it's too heavy. I think we have not impacted the total available grip. And that's what we shoot for. We can whip it around, and we're still maneuverable. We're plenty maneuverable. We can do the things. I think I can get that. Yeah. Some of the forward drive is taken out. I am most curious to hear if anyone has any input. If anybody's running these, and I don't know if there's that much of a Venn diagram overlap, who's running an RC4WD drive Interco IROK on like a 5-pound rig? Because this is a very scale tire. So I think it's usually, this is my assumption, running on something like this, or more scale than this. This is pseudo-scale. We do pseudoscience with pseudo-scale. He doesn't even have windshield wipers. And his rear view mirrors broke off. And he doesn't have any lights. And if you look too close at the interior, you go, oh, brother, what is that? So, so we have a result. Well, we haven't done wet yet, but we have a result that we need to evaluate. It needs to be not filtered, not modified, not accommodated, not adjusted. It needs to be put into proper focus. As we shifted setups, I got my phone out and I Googled it. Yes, indeed, X2SS. And the Interco IROK from RC4WD Drive has been around since 2013. But, as we've learned in the past, the old tires seem to be the better tires. Maybe not the best tires. Well, no. Panther Cougar, always lurking in the background, ready to leap upon you. The Panther Cougar. If anything will show us that an old tire may be better than a newer tire, it is that one. These have caught me off guard. As we have effectively really only used them on the Atlas, a scale crawler. And I'm coming around to this way of thinking, which is that the Interco IROK is a scale crawler tire. Yeah, I know, that's exactly what it's sold as. But it is specific in its wants and needs. If someone's running this on 5 pounds and having a fantastic results with it, man, I would like to know. Because I don't know. I feel like the Pivot, like the Louise Mallet, the Durtrex Pivot, and a couple others that escape my memory, there are tires that want weight. There are some tires that don't want weight. This is a tire that wants weight. We got to get them wetted up first. And it's X2SS, which has historically done pretty okay. Right there. Again, we got bit. 2-wheel, yeah, right? Y'all saw it. Whenever I get near the bean, I don't have enough compliance to pull the rear tire over it. So I'm going to try left cut right here and try to use that a little bit of additional height to get us up just the tiniest little fallbacks. Stay in it. Don't fall off of that little wedge. Nope. Yeah, the harder the surface, the much easier it is to self-right. This tire makes this wet climb, we're looking at the failures, easily on a softer insert that brings us back to, takes away a little bit of the stability and exchanges it for forward drive. Because that's compound. I would honestly say that the drop, watch the swing, we can just recreate that exact swing over and over again because they are quite predictable in that maneuver. Get around the side, try for the shuttle. I'm looking at how much does the tire want to drop back. You can drive them into throttle. Oh! I took my mind off of it for just a moment, and we get what we get. I would honestly say that on wet, I would put these 1/10 of a point below their dry performance because there's a loss of traction, but it is every bit as predictable and composed in wet as it is in dry. The terrain doesn't honestly feel that different. Yeah, the rocks are slicker, so you got to use a little more wheel speed to maintain your position. But like, the front end doesn't wash out, the rear end doesn't get squirty. It behaves wet dry, feels pretty much the same. And as that, we scribble, scrabble, and the RC4WD drive, Interco IROK in X2SS compound. They listed as 4.65, actually a little bit smaller than that on the inserts fitted. We've mentioned this before. KLOS 95.5, and a 95.5 is, for a scale tire, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And that 95.5 asterisk. This is a Redux score. I think you could have a worse time, and I think you could have a better time. I could see this going 3/4 of a point either way, honestly. Change the setup. Put a Canyon Soft in these, or a Thermonda, might have to cut it a little, Thermonda silicone in there on a rig that is, say, 7 pounds, and I think you're looking at a score going up. I think if you stray away from what this incidental formula that we've landed on, if you stray too far one way or the other, I think you're going to get into an issue where insert selection is going to become more and more critical as you move either way. We're kind of in a sweet spot. I think give or take a pound But if you get real light, it's going to want something soft. And then that softness, the tripwire is going to move up, 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 up. Invisible tripwire is going to get higher, and you're going to get a lot of that shoulder roll. And then as you get heavier and heavier, your insert selection is going to get more and more critical, because otherwise the tripwire is going to move up, 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 and you're going to get that shoulder roll. These are informed speculations, educated guesses. Your results may vary. If your terrain is different, as your rig is different, any variable introduced is a variable to be considered. So, take that as you will. I am in the canyon here, amongst the rocks and trees and chirpy birds. I am comfortable with a 95.5. And here's the thing. It's not the new math. I don't want to say it's the new math, but does it make sense that if I say a 95.5 on Lord Pentepe, first of his name, is different than a 95.5 on, say, baseline? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? If we have multiple vehicles doing the same sorts of tests, we've introduced a deliberate variable, and we're testing things a little bit differently. I think this goes into the classification of tires that like weight. And I had a great time testing this, and the evaluation takes a little longer, and it feels a little more fancy-free when we get out here to do a Redux. I thank you to all those who make the suggestions, particularly to a specific gentleman that maintains the Tire Test Protocol database. For all of you sticking all the way through this when we do these sorts of things, he does look really good on that type of steely wheel. Am I right, or am I right? Thank you so much for dropping by the canyon. I hope to see you next time. RC4WD drive Interco IROK. I've yet to meet an X2 SS tire that I don't like. And this one looks pretty good, drives pretty good. Is it the maximum of all things? No. Great all-rounder? Yes. Inexpensive? Yeah, $25.99 a pair. Not bad. Yeah. All around. They're going to go back on the Atlas. They're going to go back on Randall. Not a bad tire by any measure. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time here from the canyon with whatever shenanigans we come up with. I had a good time. Hope you had a good time. And in between now and when you come back for the next good time, I hope you one and all do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. Try to keep it going. Pass it forward. Do all the things. Put your shopping carts away. Be kind to your fellow man. Insert other platitudes here. IROK 95.5. Ooh. That does fit, because it's IROK 95.5. We'll see you all after the break.